up, people? Welcome to another episode of Soul Food Sundays. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, my name is Keita. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know last week I skipped out on y'all, honey. I was tired. I wasn't feeling it. I needed to refill my cup and focus on some other things, but I am here and I am back with the jump off. So I know that next week, is it next week? In the upcoming week, next Sunday. Child, you can tell I ain't got no mind. It's Valentine's Day. And so I know a lot of you are focused on showering your loved ones with love and kind gestures of appreciation and whatnot. But this week, I think it would be a good time to focus on loving yourself. And so I've been drawn to pull from not one but two decks this week, which will be the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck and the Angel Therapy Oracle card. So I hope that whatever message comes out finds you guys well. I hope that something is said that penetrates your mind, heart, and spirit, and is able to help you navigate the week ahead better as you prepare to give and show love to others. That you prioritize loving on yourself, because one thing's for certain and two things for sure: you can't give from an empty cup. So let's make sure that we are being intentional about prioritizing filling our cups and giving from our overflow. And with that being said, we're going to get into it. Over here at Turquoise Majesty, we pray before we ask God for an intuitive message. And so that is just what we're going to do. So Father God, Mother Earth, ancestors, and spirit guides, we thank you for your love and light. We thank you for this opportunity to connect with you and to bring forth a message for the highest good of the collective. Spirit, what message do you have for us as we move forward into this upcoming week, being intentional about loving on ourselves, about making ourselves a priority, and being better conduits of your light in this lifetime? What message do you have for us as we move forward? We thank you for what you've already done and what you are about to do. Amen. So, opposed to shuffling and seeing what falls out, because we literally could be here all day with that, I'm going to shuffle them. And regardless of what falls out, I'm going to pull the top card from the deck to see what message Spirit has for us. And we're starting with the Angel Therapy Oracle card. Oh, one came out. Oh. Nope. Really? Me and this thing. Give it one more shuffle before we pull. I'm noticing what's falling out though. See if they come back out. So we have emotional sensitivity. Honor and respect your deep sensitivity, as it is a gift to us all. So I'm speaking to my empaths out there. If you don't identify as an empath or know what an empath is someone who is who has the spiritual gift of emotional sensitivity. And a lot of times we don't look at emotional sensitivity as a gift. As a matter of fact, we often look at it as a curse. But in efforts to change our mindset about it, I encourage you all to consider how beneficial it is to have emotional sensitivity. And that means you are sensitive to people's energy. If you're around someone who's sad, you feel their sadness, you absorb that energy, and that actually comes to serve you. And that is why it's important that if you are sensitive to energy and emotion, it's important for you to be around people who give off good energy and good emotion, and also to know how to deal with people, or how to coexist with, not just deal with, but coexist with people who don't bring good positive energy. It definitely, having emotional sensitivity definitely makes you more a better steward of your energy, a better protector of your energy, because you know that if you are around energy vampires, you easily can go from a battery of 100% to -10, if you are around people who drain your energy or who bring you bad vibes or bad experiences, always complaining, negative Nancy's, people who choose to dwell on their trauma and their pain opposed to their healing. But there are specific ways to deal with those types of energies, which includes distancing yourself. You always want to come from a loving place with whatever decision you make in terms of how you deal with your emotional sensitivity and other people. But it doesn't make you any less of a person who operates from a space of love and light to put up a boundary. And sometimes that boundary includes distancing yourself from people. One thing about having emotional sensitivity, in order to navigate that thing successfully, you have to have some boundaries. So let's see what the book says about it. But we know off the bat that you need to focus on honoring and respecting your deep sensitivity, because it is a gift. It's not a curse. When you don't know how to manage it, it very well would feel like a curse. But once you know how to navigate that thing, how to use it to your best interest, it's a gift. So it says, have you been teased or felt bad about the fact that you're extremely sensitive? If so, this card is the angel's reassurance of the positive qualities within your gift of sensitivity. For example, you accurately know whether or not a new acquaintance is trustworthy. The angels are working with you to trust this feeling more often and not berate yourself if you've disallowed your intuition in the past. You are peaceful by nature, so you naturally avoid conflict and other harsh energies. Ask your angels to steer you toward other peace-loving people and keep all others away from you. Honor your sensitivity by surrounding yourself with gentleness in your relationships, media choices, home life, and work situation. So these cards come with an action item, so I'm going to read that as well. Because one thing I know about people who are light workers or just giving random spiritual advice or whatever the case, a lot of times they tell you, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that, but they're not giving you what you should do. They're not giving you the tools to work with or the actual tangible action steps that you should take. So I think it's important to share those as well as giving the advice. So it says, live plants are one of the angel's favorite tools for clearing away physical and emotional toxins. Today, put a live potted plant right next to your bed so that tonight its energy can clear and transmute anything you may have absorbed. Just as the plant transforms toxic carbon into breathable carbon, it will also transform fear energy, so you'll sleep peacefully and wake up refreshed. Be sure to take great care of the plants and call upon the fairies for help with this. So it's basically telling you to call upon your angels for help with clearing toxic energy in your life. And that is just a matter of prayer. It's a matter of meditating, and also to consider putting a live plant near your bed. Now, I tried that, and I will say that it does work. Aside from the fact that the oxygen is clearer, you can breathe clearer. I know I suffer with sinus issues, but I did notice the difference having a live plant in my room. However, I'm a terrible plant parent. I need to do better. Not try to call the people on me, but the environmentalist people. But I have been a terrible plant parent. I literally Googled what is the easiest plant to care for and bought it and still killed it. So I got a long way to go as it relates to being a plant mama. Poor Eartha, R.I.P. I had a what's called a parlor palm. It doesn't need a lot of water, doesn't need a lot of light, and that poor baby it was dried out. So I had to go on and give Eartha back to the earth because I did not do a good job of taking care of my plant, but I do agree that it's a good idea to have live plants in your home, especially near your bed, as it clears away negative energy and toxins in the air. And if you are experiencing any negative energy in your dream state, it helps with kind of helping to clear that up also. So you definitely want to consider that. One thing that stands out that this card is also telling us is to be mindful. You know, I was saying be mindful of the energy that you have around you when it comes to people, but also like what you're watching, what you're reading, what you're listening to. Is your home clean, or is there stagnant energy in your home where there's clutter and piles of stuff everywhere? All of that affects your emotional sensitivity. What you eat absolutely affects your emotional sensitivity, especially if you eat meat. I don't know if you guys have heard of it from this perspective before, but say when you're eating meat, you consume the trauma of whatever trauma that animal experienced, because it's all energy. And just because it's killed and it's cooked does not mean that the energy dies. The same way that when we as humans, we die, our energy, our spirit still exists. It's just our body that is gone. So we want to be mindful of those things as we come to understand and embrace our emotional sensitivity as a gift and not a curse. So I think that's a very good message in terms of how we should love on ourselves moving forward before we get intentional about loving on somebody else. You want to be mindful of your emotional sensitivity and how you are curating your experience, knowing that you have emotional sensitivity. That is a form of radical self-care. So now we're gonna pull from the Sacred Self-Care Oracle to get another message of something that we can do. Baby, that one came clean all out. And I'm gonna take it. Sync with the moon. This is all about really in alignment with emotional sensitivity. I don't know why I put that card back. It's in alignment with emotional sensitivity because the moon regulates our emotions. So when you're syncing with the moon, you are educating yourself on the moon cycles. As you can see here, this lady is standing there with her hand over her heart, and she has her eyes closed, meaning that she is in tune with what's going on inside of her and not paying attention to what's going on outside of her and around her. She's going inside. That's what happens when we close our eyes. You can see here they have eye on her forehead, meaning that she is tuning into her third eye chakra. And she is becoming in sync with the moon and its cycles. Everything in life is cyclical. Everything goes in a circle, hence the term the circle of life. And when you are aware of that, you better understand and accept that sometimes it's just not the season for certain things. Everything has an expiration date, and if you keep living, it'll circle back around. It happens with fashion, it happens with news, it happens in relationships. Life is cyclical. You're going to have some good days, you're going to circle back around to some bad days, and you're going to circle back around to some good days. And so when we come to understand that, we don't fall into those ruts of woe is me. It's always going to be this way. So let's see what the book has to say about syncing with the moon. But I know for sure that in syncing with the moon, in my experience, has helped me to better understand myself and the cycles in my life, not just as a woman having a monthly cycle, but just the cycles of my experiences. I now know when I am going through a cycle of learning a life lesson, and when I'm in the beginning, middle, or end stage of that thing, because I'm paying attention to the cycles in my life, and I'm also keeping up with the moon cycles. So did we just have a new moon or one coming up? No, we just had a full moon. And so if I'm not mistaken, let me not guess, I know we just had a full moon though. Let's see what the book says about syncing with the moon. So each of these cards has a mantra, and the mantra for this card is I embrace my ebb and flow, my many phases, and the cycles of life. That mantra is saying that you accept the cycles of life and what is going on in your life in this moment, and you understand that it won't always be that way, because life is always moving. We're always going around the circle, going to different points and back around again with the ebbs and flows of life. The moon is a powerful celestial entity that reflects the flow of our cycles and the many phases we go through. Look up the current moon phase for guidance on which energy will serve you best at this time. Guidance for each moon phase. With the new moon, carve out the time and space to get clear on your desires and set your intentions. Write down what you want to manifest to amplify your intentions and keep track. When there's a new moon, that's when it's darkest outside. You really don't see the light of the moon at all, because there's no light reflecting on that moon. So that's like going to be the darkest night of the month. And that is when you pretty much have a clean slate. That's why it's a good time to manifest during the energy of the new moon, because it's like you're able to start over. So let's say if you have a goal in mind, it's a good time to set that goal and to sit down and map out how you want to bring that goal into fruition during the new moon, because you're in sync with the energy of the new moon that is conducive to manifesting. So a lot of people do ritual work, manifestations, and things like that, candle work, on the night of a new moon or during the new moon shadow periods, which would be like 3 days before the day of the new moon or 3 days after it. The next phase after the new moon is the waxing crescent, which is, if I'm not mistaken, what we're in now. Focus on manifesting your intentions and keep visuals around for support. Visuals would be those things that remind you of the goal that you were trying to reach. Whatever you said you wanted to manifest on the night of or during the time of that new moon, you want to keep a visual around you to remind you that that is what I'm setting out to do. So like, let's say if you do a vision board on the night of the new moon, that's a form of manifestation, and then you have that around during the waxing crescent and throughout the cycle of the moon to keep you reminded of the goal that you have set and what you need to be focused on. The third cycle is the first quarter moon, which is when the moon is at like its halfway point. So that's at the time where you can see half of the moon in the sky, and that's the time where you need to take action to show your devotion to manifesting your intentions. So whatever goal you set during the first quarter, you're not in the planning phase anymore. You're in the phase of actually putting in the work. That's when you put forth that energy to actually make it come forth. So if you said you wanted to start a website, that is the time where you're actually putting your pictures up, putting out the template of the website, putting the verbiage in there, you're meeting with people, you're talking to people, you're putting some action to what it is that you have in seed form in your mind as an idea. You are actively bringing that into fruition during the first quarter moon. So the fourth phase is the waxing gibbous, when the moon is starting to get fuller, but it's not 100% full. You celebrate the beauty of the human experience and all that is moving in your desired direction. During the time of the waxing gibbous, where the moon is not 100% full but almost, that's the time when you want to just take a time to just pause for a second and be grateful for what is going right. You want to assess what's going on, especially not just with their manifestation, but in life period. But it's a good time to check in with what it is that you're trying to manifest, where you are on the path to bringing that forth, and just be grateful for what is working right during that time. Shit, it's 8 of them. So when there is a full moon, take note of how your intentions have manifested. Reflect with gratitude and let go of what is no longer serving you. Put your crystals and sacred belongings outside under the moonlight for recharging and cleansing. The energy of the full moon is so powerful. When you are in alignment, mind, body, and soul, especially as you are navigating your spiritual journey and being mindful of your emotional sensitivity, the full moon, especially for women, is the time when a lot of women have their menstrual cycles, because their bodies are in sync with the moon. I know mine is. And that is when I started to notice that something different was going on within me, because my cycle date changed from a totally different date to lining up with the full moon. So I knew every time a full moon was coming, here comes my womanly cycle. We grown, so I ain't gotta say TMI, because if you feel like that's TMI, you might want to click off and find you something a little more PG-13. But the full moon is a great time for releasing. Whether that's something you need to say to somebody, it's a good time to go ahead and get whatever's been on your chest off your chest and release that energy out of your physical body. It's a good time to release thoughts, feelings, and emotions that have been pent up inside of you. I like to do what's called a burning ritual on the night of or during the shadow period of the full moon, which would be 3 days before, 3 days after, where I'm writing down things that I no longer resonate, things that no longer serve me in my life, be it habits or relationships or feelings or actual material items, whatever they are, writing it down and burning it as a form of release. And every time I do that, I start to see those types of things leave my life in the physical form, as the physical manifestation of those things leaving my life. So the 6th stage is the waning gibbous, which is when the moon starts to slowly go back to a darker state again. So again, you see the light of the moon, but it's not as full because the energy is starting to decline. That's a good time to clean your house and continue releasing what is no longer serving you. During the 7th phase, which is the 3rd quarter cycle, you connect with the natural world and let your awareness be drawn to the divine beauty of life cycle and timelines. Again, another point where you intentionally stop and give gratitude for what is going good in your life. Giving gratitude for the beauty in your life, the beauty of what's going on around you, within you. Definitely appreciating and showing gratitude for all of the beauty that nature provides for us. It's a good time to do that. The most powerful time to do that is during the 3rd quarter cycle. And the last cycle before we get back to the new moon, where the energy is where the moon is completely dark, is the waning crescent. Cleanse the energy and reflect with gratitude on the cycle that's coming to a close. So at that point, you are doing an audit, so to speak, or you are doing, like, you're reflecting back on how well or not so well your manifestation came to be during that month. So like, with being in sync with the moon cycles, it's kind of like how we are in sync with setting goals throughout the year, and we set quarterly goals for each of the 4 months of the year. But instead of doing it on a yearly basis, you're doing it throughout the month. So it's a great way to kind of micromanage what it is that you want to manifest, so that you are intentional about bringing it forth, and you're using the moon's energies to help you do so. So it says, throughout this moon cycle, track how you are feeling. Notice how your energy waxes and wanes, how your sexual appetite fluctuates. I cannot talk. I need some water. Also, if you are female and in your bleeding years, track the moon phase that's present when your menstrual cycle begins and ends. This is a beautiful exercise to do over the long term, so that you can see more trends in how your cycles relate to those of the moon. Be sure to keep an eye out for a local moon gathering you can join, or if there isn't one in your area, host your own. These cards also provide a journal prompt. So if you're one who likes to journal as a form of reflecting or manifesting, it says, after spending a month tracking your energetic, sexual, and other cycles throughout the moon phases, what has been illuminated for you? Doing this is definitely a great way to pay attention to yourself, to get to know yourself better on a deeper level. I think one of the mistakes we often make is expecting people to know us, know what we like, what we don't like, and to reflect that back to us when we don't know what we like, don't like, what cycles we're in, how we react to certain things. And so it's important that we do so in our attempts to be in relationship with others. So I hope this message has found you guys well, and that it helps you to navigate your self-love practices as you move throughout the week. And with that being said, peace.